all want to make money by doing something we love. If you could turn your hobby into your job, you'd never work a day in your life, right? Welcome to Hobby Hustle, the ultimate podcast where collecting passion and business collide. Now, here's your host, Zach Nigett.
What is going on, guys? Due to being sick, I was unable to record this week, so instead we're going to take a step back to this year's National and revisit a great conversation with two amazing people and friends in the hobby. This was a conversation with Evan Parker, the CEO of Mantel, and Tom Fallos, aka the Card Carver, which was recorded on Thursday, July 25th in Cleveland, Ohio at the 2024 National Sports Collectors Convention. We discussed the emerging card art world and what the future may hold. It's amazing to think what has happened in the card art space over just the past 3 months since this recording. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this conversation.
All right, guys, I am here. Zach Nigett, Tommy Fallos, Bench Mob, Card Carver,
Collector Creative,
multiple names. Two really good guys in the hobby.
Thank you.
Two great artists in the hobby, two people who love this stuff. So figure we just have a conversation. It's the first full day at the National. We're walking around, you see thousands and thousands of people here who are out there collecting different things. Like I've seen some weird stuff, Jordans and LeBrons and whatever, and then I've seen some stuff that like you would only see at this place, which I think is what makes it special. And just wanted to have a conversation about the hobby in general, about card art, because you guys are doing some really interesting things in the space, and just rap a little bit.
All right, I can rap. We can do that.
Can you rap or card it?
Oh man,
chop it up. Well, so speaking of rap, I recently became vice president of Rapper Cards, as you know.
Yep.
And it's really easy for me as a fan of rap music and hip hop. Like hip hop's always been a part of me. And what I tend to do with cards and what I'm most known for is when I cut cards up and basically make kind of a collage. And I really enjoy making what I call the pop art mashups. And it's really easy to draw lines and comparisons between what I do with my cards and what a producer or a DJ will do with a beat, right? Because they're taking samples from different records and then they're combining them, mixing them together to make a completely new piece of work or a piece of art even, right? Because it's really easy to consider music as art. So what I'm doing is very similar to hip hop in the sense that I'm sampling from different cards, cutting them up, mashing them up, and then making them into a new piece of art, just like Dr. Dre or Jay Dilla would do with a sample.
I love that. And you don't cut your cards, but you're also taking samples from the sneaker world, from nostalgia. I mean, it's all coming from places of inspiration.
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously, Tom has been around a lot longer than I have doing this, and congratulations too on the new vice presidency. Sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And Evan, congratulations on the launch of Mantel. This is good things that are popping right here.
Yes.
But no, yeah, it's all original hand-drawn artwork. My first sort of couple cards are all around, like you said, sneakers, around Jordan. I have other athletes planned. I've got other series planned. But it's something I'm passionate about. So the whole Collector Creative brand is, about art and trying to incorporate other artists. And then also, just having fun and being a part of this hobby that we all love.
That's the only way to go. How did you get into it? Because you've been doing this for a while.
So I like a lot of people. I collected as a kid. And by the time I got towards junior, senior year of high school, I was kind of phased out of it. And when I've got 3 kids, and when my oldest son, my firstborn, got old enough to play t-ball, I bought him some baseball cards. I'm like, you're playing baseball. We're going to buy some baseball cards now. And I started buying him cards on eBay. I got good at sniping them. And I was like, wait a minute. This Anthony Rizzo is dope. Maybe I'll buy one of these for me. And that's how I got back into the hobby. I was observing a group of artists on Instagram for a while doing what I'm doing now. And I felt all along like it was something I could do. COVID came and my son River bought a box of 90 Don Russ at our LCS for maybe $8, right? We ripped the whole thing and we have this pile of friggin' junk wax sitting on my table and we're like, what are we gonna do with all these cards? And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give this a shot. And so I started chopping them and here we are. 3 years, 5 years, it's 3 years later at the National sitting with you, the owner of Mantel, another awesome artist. And it all started at my dining room table.
It's amazing. And I mean, I've seen your office. I know you're a collector from like a deep part of your soul. But the art stuff, like creating the cards, this is brand new. You've only been shipping these cards for a month or two.
Yeah, it's been a month, man. It's been awesome. The response has been awesome. It's been fun to, like I said, it's my creative release, right? It's something that's deep in me, passionate, and just expressing that, like a lot of these artists do. And I'm really hopeful, in conjunction with people like Tom and other artists in this space to help elevate the custom card art world, right? I really think there's a ton of collaboration that's possible, and I think there's a ton of new stuff that's coming out, and just trying to bring everybody together and elevate us as a whole. But yeah, man, being a collector from day one, creating my own cards, it's something fun and passionate about. And that also bled into the whole Hobby Hustle podcast thing, is to be able to tell other people's stories and share that with the world, because there's so many amazing people in this hobby, in the collectible space, and not everybody gets the light shine on them. So I want to use that platform as I grow that to help tell those people's stories, like yourself, Evan, and hopefully you soon, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down.
I love it. I'm on the podcast. It hit yesterday.
Yeah.
Fresh stuff. It's everything I say, everything Zach says is pretty profound. So if anybody hasn't listened to it yet, you got to. I mean, it's interesting walking around this year versus last year and seeing how much more the art card world has kind of infiltrated the hobby. It feels like it's becoming way more mainstream. A lot of really interesting, great artists are looking at sports and sports cards as a way to showcase their talent and their passion. And I mean, I think just in general, it's cool to see where maybe a few years ago you'd come to the National and it's all cards and memorabilia, created by the Tops and the Panini and the Leafs. And now you see card artists who are creating some of the dopest stuff that I've seen on the show floor.
I think that's a key thing you hit on, right? Is, we're all similar age, and growing up in the 90s, to me, that's the golden era of creativity and designing cards. As these other card companies have come in, I feel like that creativity has sort of gone away. Not that they're not creating some beautiful things, but I think it's cool because it's like a breath of fresh air, and we can sort of let go and do whatever we want and really bring the art forward.
Totally.
and showcase, like what maybe some of these other companies should be doing. And I know, Tom, I've seen you on a lot of, with Culture Collision and some other places around. You've done some gallery shows with Bleecker, but then you got guys like with Luke the Cardist, and he's in Tops, so just, again, shining a light on this whole space.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I showed up at the National 3 years ago in Atlantic City. And at that point, there's a really big group of artists on Instagram, as you guys are aware.
Yeah.
I mean, not just Instagram, but just in general. But in Instagram in particular, there was and is a really strong community. And 3 years ago, when I had just kind of been started, it was my first year doing these cards. The National was coming up, and I was really at a point where I felt like I was kind of neck and neck with what I considered to be kind of like the top of the pack. And I felt like I had to do something to set myself apart, right? And that's when I decided I have to go to the National. I've never been before. It's coming up. Me and my son River went, and in all honesty, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in this game and in this hobby, because since then I haven't let up. We went from that first year I showed up only knowing like a certain kind of group of people that I was friendly with through social media, getting to know them and, like cultivating those relationships and just building on that rapport to get to the point where last year, being friends with some of the guys at Ludex, they were looking for some time to fill. And I said, well, I can get some artists together and we'll come in. And on Saturday of the National in Chicago, we did a little like pop-up thing. We're in the back of the room. We just threw our cards out on the table and we brought in art. I had Chuck Stiles and Andy Friedman, Lauren Taylor, Ivan Beslik from the Croatian Twins from Germany. Luke was in there, Ken Carl, etc. And it was a great time. Good enough that Ludex was like, let's do this again. So they hit me up, and now we have an entire gallery downstairs, which has not been done before. It's me and 5 other artists that I, curated myself, and selecting those artists was based on, one, are we friendly? Are you really out there working? Because I pride myself, I'm not the best artist. At least I don't feel that I am. But I do feel that I work as hard, if not harder than everybody, to make sure that I'm seen and to create opportunities for myself. And I'm not going to surround myself with people that I don't feel are like up to par.
Sure.
Like, if you're not putting in the work, then like,
right,
you need to be.
Totally.
And yeah.
Well, I don't know Ken on a super personal level, but he and I have started interacting a lot more, and I know he's part of your gallery. To your point, though, like such a stand-up guy, amazing artist, and just building those relationships, right, and continuing to cultivate this art space is so cool that you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really focused on keeping the right kind of company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be around people that are greater than I am, like, because that's where I'm trying to be.
Totally.
You know what I mean? There's no backpedaling, just always moving forward.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes,
It's
absolutely, absolutely.
I think, when you think about like Project 2020 from Topps, Project 70, they brought in a lot of artists to do cards. As far as I can recall, most of those artists were from outside of the hobby, coming in and doing cool stuff for the hobby. I would imagine if they do that again, there are going to be guys who have started as hobby artists who are then, creating stuff that make it into mass-produced product. Like, it's cool to see the evolution of the space. It's cool to see that, it just becoming a lot more mainstream, and how there are so many different ways for artists to create space and do something interesting. And I think from the work that you're doing, curating it, like I'm excited for the day that there's an art card that makes it into a big auction, or into a permanent gallery space, or into a museum, because it feels like that's the way things are trending. It's early. We're at not even at first base yet.
Yeah.
It's only heading in the right direction.
The art cards in the auctions is going to happen. I have I got a collaboration with Piggy Banks. I was going to put it in a heritage auction. Good friends with Jeremy. I assume that you know Jeremy Allen.
Of course, yeah.
Jeremy's awesome people. I hit him up a little bit too late. I'd like to see the card in the catalog. I want it to have the right type of promotion and the attention that it deserves, especially for it being the first time. But I mean, those are the type of things that are right around the corner. Like, you're spot on with that.
So you've got that card. Are you willing to show it off?
Yeah, we'll show it for the first time.
All right. There's breaking news on look at this.
This is amazing.
So explain what's the deal? Why is this cool? How did it come together?
So I've been friends with Piggy Banks since he started, basically. I was in the space before he was. He came in, and right away you could tell he had a good idea what he was doing. And we've remained friends. I reached out to him. I said, we've talked about doing collaborations, and it never came together. I'm like, look, I'm going to the National. Your name's hot. Everybody knows who I am. Now's the friggin' time. So I went through all of his cards, and I picked out I've got 8 designs probably sitting in my house. I just picked one. I'll probably drop another one at Culture Collision.
Not a bad one to pick.
No, we're in Cleveland, right? So you're not going to come to Cleveland without the king of Cleveland.
Totally.
He's not my king. MJ's my king. But the king.
I like this style, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not the king, but the king of Cleveland. You can't come here without LeBron. So we did LeBron. For me to do a Piggy Banks mashup, I wanted to do something that was very Carver and Warhol. I've always loved Warhol. I've been incorporating him into my stuff from time to time. I love to do those mashups. So I felt like one of the most Carver / Piggy Bank things that I could do was to do a mashup with Andy Warhol. And the colors, the purple, pinks, and yellows, and orange and gold all in here. Just all really play well together. It's got LeBron on the front. It's got the Piggy Banks official back. I'm going to sign it later on. I just recently started, and this is maybe the second card. You got the first card that I ever did with actual gold leaf on the sides.
Look at that.
So this has a gold leaf edges. The borders are all gold leaf laid by hand, and even the insides, it's a 130-point card, and the insides of the shadow box has the gold foil on it, which you don't usually see.
That's spectacular, man. And that's something new and fresh. And so just to educate the audience a little bit about Piggy Banks, so they don't know, to your point, is a mashup, pop culture, art, hip hop, all of it coming together. He's super hot. I actually got a chance to meet him at Atlantic City National right when he started get going.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to be able to obtain some of his Jumpman DeLorean pieces, which are iconic.
Yep.
But this piece is from the Crown series, the Heavy as the Head series.
Yes.
So LeBron's in there. He did a Jordan one. He's done Stan Lee, Messi,
I have all
and
of them.
Kobe. So
I have all of them to cut up.
there you go,
Everyone.
man.
To cut up.
But so I mean, these are legendary cards within this collector community. So this card is extremely special, and what you've done with it is phenomenal, Tom.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys like it.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you.
but I'll say, there are Piggy Banks collectors who are trying to get, the set of every single Heavy as the Crown card that he makes. And they're going to look at that and say, as dope as that is, you cut one of those pieces. That could not have been an easy decision.
For me, I will cut anything. I don't care.
Let's get the Mona Lisa over
I will
here.
cut anything at this point. I mean, like, sure, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking if it's something that's really valuable. But at this point, I've been doing it for a few years now, and I have the confidence in my hand and my eye that I'll get it done. I mean, like with this card in particular, it's going to be hard to see on the camera, but like, look how thin the border is on that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
You know, I had to stack the cards to create the shadow box just as thin, if not thinner, so that it would actually work and not look like
It's
dookie, you
it's
know?
spectacular, man. It's spectacular, and this is very you. You know, I got a chance to see your stuff that you did at the Last Culture Collision show.
Yep.
You know, with the soup can pop culture, Wemby. Like this screams piggy banks, and then everything else is Card Carver, which is awesome.
I'm glad you
man.
feel that way, because that's
yeah.
exactly what I was trying
It's
to
sick.
execute. Thank you very much.
Zach, let's see. I want to see one of your cards because you just dropped yours.
One of your cards that you're going to give me to cut up later.
Absolutely. So this is our first release. It's called the Sneaker Series. So obviously had to go with my GOAT, MJ.
Our GOAT, yes.
Our GOAT, yeah. So this is the 3, and then there was one right before that, the 1. These are all hand numbered. There's a little bit of a story about each one of these shoes. I intend to do other athletes. I intend to do other series bleeding into hip hop, pop culture, all of that. But like I said, just getting started. And what's cool about these two is they all have a verification number on the back. And so I have started a platform called originalcardart.com. You can actually go look this up, just like you could BGS, PSA, any of the grading companies, and you can see pictures of it. It legitimizes this card. And my hope is that I built this platform, but I want to offer it to all artists for free. You guys can do your own serial numbers. You can do whatever you want. I'll help import the data, and it's something, again, just try to elevate this space, bring it all, legitimize it, because there is, as we talked about in auction, there is a secondary market for all this stuff coming up.
For sure.
And so I think if there's a way for people to say, yeah, this is actually what I'm getting, that will be a huge help for all of us.
In some ways, it's kind of what card art needs in order to legitimize it and make it sort of like tradable.
Yeah.
That you could say, this is actually one. I got this from the artist. Here's the one I've got. Here's how rare it is. Without that kind of place for people to go, some of this stuff just, you have no idea what it was a series of or how many of these were even produced.
Yeah, and I think a side effect of this potentially too is that, you know, there's not a lot of great catalogs for artists, right? Like of their work. And so this potentially could act as a catalog as well. Again, I'm just getting into all this, you know, so much due respect to you, Tom, and the rest of the guys way before me. But I come from the tech background too. So being able to combine art and tech is like my thing. And so that's where I hope I can help, you know?
Yeah, no, I really dig it, man. I think really good ideas.
Thanks.
And stuff that's needed. So
I appreciate
you're
that.
on the right track.
Thank
I love
you.
it, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk, because you guys both did pieces for Mantel.
Yeah.
We did a piece. The first one, the first collab we ever did, Tom, was this one. And I hope it shows up on the camera. Otherwise, we'll figure out a way to get it out. But this was, for those who are watching who don't know, Mantel is a social network for collectors. And the idea is that not just for cards, but every type of collectible that there is. It's comic books, stamps, coins, watches, whatever. And what we wanted to do with this one is kind of take the essence of what Mantel is, with Mickey Mantle, with the 1952 tops as sort of the centerpiece, and then surround them with all these other sort of holy grail collectibles.
For sure. For sure. And of course, I couldn't help myself. I had to sneak in some Andy Warhol.
Totally.
If we're talking about collectibles and we're talking about high level art and things of value to collect, fine art is obviously within that space. I had to sneak in the Andy. And a lot of these other elements are just things that I felt really represented like their sector. You know, things that represented stamps and comics, you know,
the bottle of Pappies was a good
bottle
touch.
of Pappy. And I was trying to figure out how to work that in. And when it clicked in my head to have Mickey Mantle holding the bottle like that, I was like, that's it.
That's sick. It's amazing touch.
It is. From where I sat, because when you sent me the drawings, you know, I knew what sort of it was going to be based on, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. And seeing that, like, it's dope from the first look. But seeing that bottle is sort of that thing that clicks of like how deep. And then every time I look at it, you kind of pick up another thing with the Superman one as the comic, or the inverted Jenny stamp, or you've got the Paddock Aqua Nautilus, the Gull Wing. There's so many different things. And even I, like, after a month of having this, I was like, how many items are there? And you showed me, I don't know if you saw, but underneath the Yankees is like a very rare coin, like underneath that I never even noticed.
I didn't notice that. You gifted me a copy, so it's in my PC, which I love. But like I haven't had a
ready.
chance to even find all these little details.
And I got
That's awesome.
the Jordan 1 in the corner.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm glad that you pointed that out because that is something that I really strive for, especially when I'm doing, because I created this in the style of like my pop art mashups that I was talking about before. And when I create those, I do really strive for fitting in like these tiny little elements that you're maybe not going to notice when you first see the card, so that each time you look at the card, you might have like one of those aha type of moments, like, oh wow, I never saw that there's freaking Daffy Duck like under freaking Jose Canseco's arm there, or whatever
Right.
it is, you know. So yeah, it was really fun to put this card together, and I'm glad that you liked it as much as I did.
Oh, I love it. And then Zach, you just brought over yesterday
Yeah.
the custom card. You did. If I can
Let's
hard
try
with
to get it
with the mic, might need all of us for this. All right. So this is a custom collab just for the National.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get it on. I'm hoping that these shots show up because you guys did too good work for it to not. You want to explain what went into this?
Sure. So, again, the idea to celebrate Cleveland, right?
Yeah,
So LeBron's on there with his classic chalk toss. We got Jim Brown, one of the best running backs ever. And then we've got Jim Tomei, who, you can argue what Cleveland baseball player, but for me, that was my guy growing up and playing, baseball on my Nintendo and stuff. It was always Jim Tomei. So
That's awesome.
he went in the Hall of Fame. They're all Hall of Famers. LeBron will be. But just something fun to mash up. We did it with the Mantel green all over the place. And it's just a really fun piece, man. And so that's encased in acrylic slab. We did 4 of these one-of-ones with different holographic finishes. And then there's only 40 of the others. So 44th National, 44 cards.
Gotcha. Awesome.
I love it.
I have one of the 44. I'm
You
stoked
do,
on it.
man.
I got to rip one this morning.
That's awesome. I
Love it.
appreciate it.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
That's what we want to do and make sure people who are part of our community are getting these things, have access to them. Like we're trying to build on Mantle is a place for guys like us, men, women, everybody to come together who kind of share this similar passion. The thing I love about it is you guys have 2 very different styles. You collect you collect different things, sports collectibles, sure, but you guys aren't buying the same stuff. And I think when you go onto Mantle, you see a lot of people who are posting this thing that may only make sense to them, but they love it. And we have a community of people who are respectful, who just love seeing other people be passionate about something.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the coolest thing about Mantle is that it's a collectibles platform, right? It's not a sports card. It's not an art card, but there's watches, there's comics, there's ticket stubs, there's booze, right? Like whatever you can think of. And,
sure.
And to your point, it's been fun building relationships on this platform separate from the noise of a Twitter or an Instagram. Not that there's anything wrong with those communities because they're amazing, but this is like someplace where you can sort of go for the calm, lose yourself, and just stay focused on collectibles.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other, to the whole point of there being so many different collectible things, it's really great on Mantle because who do you know that collects just one thing?
Nobody.
Most collectors I know,
Totally.
if not every single collector, collects at least a few things usually. 'Cause if you're a collector at heart, you're a collector.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Well, that's part of sort of when we were building it. That was the idea of you kind of walk around, and this is a sports card show or memorabilia and sports cards. So you see a lot of companies that are so specific to this space. But if you go and you talk to any of these people who are here and you ask them what they're into, they're not all just single cell organisms that say the only thing I collect are cards. I'm sure that out of the 100,000 people who are going to be here this weekend, there are going to be some people who are not collectors or card collectors. But the vast majority of these people probably have comic books or stamps or coins or watches, and this is something I'm really passionate about, people who just like stuff, who don't necessarily have to own it, but just say, look, I collect, on this card, the Mercedes, the SL Gullwing. I collect the Gullwing. I have 0 of them in my house. I'll probably never have one, but I love that car. And the fact that it's on this is special. And so just trying to find a place that people can go and interact with people who, and I'm careful how I say this, not like the exact same things, but kind of like the essence of the same things,
Totally.
right? And the emotion that it gives, the nostalgia, the humor. Some people it's for the investment aspect, but everybody's got a different way of doing it. And I think that's what makes our community special is that they all come together, they respect each other, they like each other, they learn from each other, but they also all have their own thing.
Totally. The education piece is cool too. I mean, there's been numerous things that have popped up that, I didn't know about. I could learn some more about, which is awesome. So literally just the other day, someone posted about original comic book art, right? And I know very little, so I'm not like well educated, but I know that there's like ink drawings and pencils and colors and all these different levels to it. and I was able to ask questions and sort of get some answers. And it was like really cool to have that type of interaction on that platform. And again, it was like I could get that information quickly and I wasn't going around digging, and people love to share it, right?
Yeah.
Like they're passionate about it, so they want to talk about it.
100%.
Well, and I love that I got a chance to meet guys like you through it. I think that a nice byproduct that wasn't intended, but it's been really cool on the other end, is to see that people are getting together and meeting each other, getting time with each other, doing deals with each other, business with each other through people that they met on Mantel. And I think that if this community continues to grow, and there are a lot of people who are at this show right now who I would love to see get on the platform, but little by little, I think this becomes something that can be really special for collectors, really special for the hobby, and just a more, I think, targeted niche space. As like the social networks get more driven by the algorithm, you get more and more content that you don't care about.
Yeah.
So how can we create something that's the stuff that you actually say, this is what I want, this is what I'm into? Not that you want to be closed off from other things, but I think just finding a spot that's not like, it's not politics, it's not religion, it's not war.
It's not pictures of people's babies.
It's no. Right, exactly. I think there have been 0 baby pictures on the platform. And if there is one, hopefully it's on a card and it's collectible.
Right. And that is one of the best things I think about Mantel is you go there and it's for collectors. You've seen all kinds of stuff. And for people like me who are collectors of certain things and just like that collector at heart, you're going to start to learn about things that you maybe hadn't really been turned on to. And you're like, wait a minute, like this stuff is like super cool. Like you were talking about with the original comic art, like that's a perfect example.
There's a guy on the platform last night posting about rare books. And it was interesting. He was posting about a Stephen King book, Stephen King's first book. And he's got an original copy of it, first edition or whatever. I'm not a book collector, but I want to now read that book because just him describing it, I'm like, that actually seems like an awesome book.
First edition books are huge. And what was it that I saw? Harry Potter first edition.
There was a huge sale
I forget
recently.
what the price was, but astronomical.
Yeah.
It might have been 6 figures or close to it.
I think it was.
crazy.
Our buddies at Rally had one, and I know whatever it IPO'd for was massive. I mean, there's just so many interesting things in the hobby, and I think, or in collecting overall. And what I found interesting on the platform is you see things that people are into that you never knew, not even you didn't know a lot about. You may not have even known that it existed. I met a guy earlier today who the only thing he collects is the wrappers to baseball card packs.
And I love that stuff. I'm the same way. I walk by, well, I shouldn't say I'm the same way, but I do love that stuff. I really love it. I was walking by a booth earlier with my son. I said, hold on, we got to stop. This booth had like 3 tables just full of PSA graded wax packs, going as back as far as like into the 50s.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. And I'm sure that you can appreciate too from a graphic design standpoint.
Oh yeah.
I eat that stuff up. I love to see the way they used to design the graphics and the way that even the way that it was printed and the way the colors are done and the way they mix up together. I can't get enough of it.
Well, by the way, this guy's not grading them. These are open packs. These are just this, like, I was opening
open
a pack.
packs, empty packs. Yeah, I've seen that before.
I was with a couple guys ripping some packs earlier today, and these were not, this wasn't like 1952 tops. This is like modern sort of. And he was like, hey, if you guys are not going to use those wrappers, that's what I collect. Like, please, my trash, your treasure.
Right.
But that's how how collecting kind of goes.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like the nostalgia factor, right? And paying
100%.
paying homage to the older designs and how do you reuse them and how do they recirculate and influence the stuff that's coming out now. It's amazing, man. And being a 90s kid, like you mentioned, you opened 90s junk wax, right? Like it's essentially worthless, but like the joy that you get doing that is just amazing. And I want to give you, Evan, props to you and your team about the platform too, because I think because you guys are new, what's really cool is that you're listening to the community and you're building new features that are really cool for collectors. And, like just for the National, you guys rolled out this whole event feed so that people can connect and figure out what's going on and see things specific for this. And that's been a really cool feature to be able to go on there and sort of stay dialed in.
I appreciate it. Look, we're trying, right? Like, it's really tough to build a social network from scratch. It's tough to build a community platform and a content business from scratch. We started this February 13th, we launched, and every single person who's on has come on in the last 4 or 5 months. And we're trying to build something we think will be special. But what I know is that we don't have all the answers. And if I try to build the platform for collectors that I want or that I think should exist, but I don't ask them what they want, then it's not going to be any better than Facebook. It's not going to be any better than Instagram. And I'm not suggesting that the team is like Mark Zuckerberg's or Jack Dorsey's, but like none of us had an opportunity to tell the guys building these other platforms that we want this or we don't like this. And we want to make sure with Mantel that everything that we build is something that our community says, I will use that. Do it this way. We would like that. Do it that way. It won't work as well for our needs. And the thing's not perfect. Nobody spends as much time on that platform as I do. I know every flaw that site has. It's very rare that somebody gives me feedback and I'm like, I never thought of that before. Like, I'm telling you.
It's your baby.
But hearing from other people helps me shape it because I may know every flaw, but I don't have every good idea. And when we talk, you're like, hey, if this would be cool, you should think about this, think about that. 9 times out of 10, it's something that either I never thought of or I thought of but didn't know anybody else would care, so didn't move forward on it. And that's what we're trying to do. And anybody who joins the platform can give feedback. I'll give out my cell phone number, my email. It doesn't matter. Like all we want to do is make this thing so much better so that next year when we're at this show, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's on it. Instead of us being the upstart, we're the incumbent. And I think we can build something really special. The more people who find out about it, the better it becomes. I mean, that's the hard part, right? It's chicken and egg. But I know every day that a new person joins, they make the platform that much better for people like us who have been on since day one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So we're at the National. Before we wrap, put aside the art that you guys are working on, put aside the networking, the business.
Yep.
Are you looking for anything? You trying to buy anything?
So, yes, I'm always looking. My great uncle played Major League Baseball from 1955 to 63. He actually started in the minors in 47, and it took him till 55 to get into the bigs. And then even after his career, he went to Japan for a year and was a minor leaguer. I'm always hunting for anything to do with his career, whether it's old ticket stubs from a game he might have played in, the box score sheets, the game programs, anything. I have all the cards. So I'm always looking for really unique things, and that's really my focus for my collecting. I do collect a little bit, like the occasional, like Cubs player, because I'm always Chicago first with everything, and that's really it. But the cool thing about the National, you kind of hit on this earlier, is you do not know what you're going to see.
No.
Anything that you thought would be here is here, but things that you have never thought of are here. And the perfect example is the one thing that I picked up so far. I'm looking for Billy Klaus items. That's my great uncle.
Yeah.
Really rare. And the odds of me finding like one thing here that I don't already have are slim. There is a chance. But yesterday, I'm talking with one of the artists that are in the gallery that I curated, Stacy Wall, who's very unknown. He's the one artist in the group that's pretty much the unknown, but he very much belongs, and his art is just phenomenal. This guy had been buying cards from me for like a year. And he asked me for a commission. He says, I want a Penny Hardaway, but I want you to please incorporate Lil Penny.
Nice.
I'm like, bet, we'll do that. And he's like, and I think I asked him, like, why Lil Penny? He's like, oh, well, I worked for Nike and I was involved with Lil Penny. I'm like, that's wild. Yeah, okay, man. Cool. Turns out he invented Lil Penny.
No,
wow. He's the dude.
Wow.
He also invented Johnny Kilroy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm talking to him, and we're talking about what we're doing at the National, we're doing here. And he's like, yeah, I've got some stuff to get rid of. I'm like, what do you have to get rid of? And he pulls out the stack of PSA authenticated Type 1 photographs. And they're all from the Lil Penny photo shoots.
No way.
And they're all from the Johnny Kilroys.
Those are iconic.
Wow.
Iconic
ads.
Iconic. And I'm looking at one of the Kilroys, and this is one of the most beautiful things about the hobby, because like this isn't completely uncommon, to where you have people that are so generous and like they see the spark in your eye. And he sees me looking at this Kilroy. I'm like, man, this is freaking great. He's like, you like that one, Tom? I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, you can have it, bro. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's awesome.
Are you kidding me? It's literally sitting there. Me and my son have 2 beds in our hotel room, and there's a nightstand between them. And Johnny Kilroy,
that's the piece,
is sitting right there on the lampstand.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's
I love
really
that.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, and you found some really cool Billy Klaus stuff. I mean, I know you just got a game used bat.
I did, yeah. I've been looking for the bat for like almost a decade, I would say. I have a lot of really cool stuff. I have his game used 57 Red Sox jersey, that I keep. I'm very much a curator.
Totally.
I do collect, but I also consider myself more of like a curator when it comes to my collecting. And even like here, like I love to do card art, but I love coming to these events and putting together events and experiences for people. Like, I don't just want to go to a show. I want to be involved. I want to help elevate it. I want to make it as great of an experience for everyone as I can. So I try to like let that shine through everything I do.
Yeah, no, I love it. And are you looking for cards to cut up? Like, what's the process?
I am, absolutely. So like I have a pretty extensive, I would say, like, it's kind of funny because I don't consider it a PC, but really the shit that I'm always hunting for, pardon my French, to cut up and to put into my cards, I'm really kind of like collecting them. And I enjoy hunting for them just as much as I enjoy hunting for cards that go into my PC.
Yeah.
You know, so I have like a vast, like I've got binders and boxes that are just full of non-sports stuff. And that's really what I'm looking for, is the non-sports stuff that I can cut up and incorporate into those pop culture pieces, because that's really what I enjoy to make, you know, because those are the things to me. If I do a Michael Jordan card that's mashed up with some Star Wars and some comic book characters, some Goonies, whatever it is, 80s, 90s nostalgia, because to me in this space, the bottom line of like everything almost is that nostalgia is king.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And if I can make a card that you can look at it and you remember watching MJ play, which maybe brings you back to sitting on the couch watching the game with your dad. You see the Mario, you see Super Mario or something, reminds you of your sleepovers when you were a kid, playing video games with your buddies. Reminds you of, you know, collecting comic books and so on and so on. That is what I'm going for. And I'm hoping to evoke those emotions and pull on those nostalgia strings in your heart each time you look at it, with all those different pieces like we were talking about.
Absolutely.
All those elements might remind you of a different moment or take you back to a different moment in time.
What about you, Zach? I'm sure that there's some bull stuff that I'm sitting between two Chicago guys.
Yeah, man. You know, so my jam is the rare 90s insert trio. So Jordan, Pippen, Rodman. Awesome. So there's a couple MJs I'm looking to track down, a couple other things. But, you know, honestly, I know you said not about that, but first and foremost, this show is all about people, man.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
like, listen, there's amazing things here. I saw MJ 88 ticket stuff from the All-Star, or I'm sorry, the All-Star weekend when he won the dunk contest. Like, that was phenomenal. There were some ticket stubs, Jackie Robinson's first World Series, All-Star games, like incredible things you see there, but just meeting people, networking, that's what it's all about to me. Like, more important than the cards. The cardboard's cool, but it's, you know, getting to hang out with people face to face that you probably interact with online through whatever communities.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Seeing friends. I mean, that the Kilroy is awesome.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, I would say that just seeing all my friends, people that I don't only get to see a handful of times a year, people that I've never met before, like you were saying, it is the highlight.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it. All right, so if people want to find you, give them.
Where
should they find
it's the Card Carver on all social platforms. I also have the cardcarver.com. Reach out, hit me up.
And I'm collector_creative. If you're a Bulls geek, you can check me out at Benchmob Chicago or collectorcreative.com.
And on Mantel, you're the Card Carver. You're bench mob on Mantel.
Yes, sir.
You didn't even need the bench mob. You got the.
I'm just bench
your
mob.
bench mob. You got it in early. That's a benefit. Honestly, another plug. Get on Mantel now. You can get your username.
Yeah.
The prime usernames are still available, but a little while you're not going to be able to get the bench mob anymore.
Yep.
You're going to be the bench mob 754 or something like that. So you got to get on early.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. No, it's a lot of fun hanging out. I'm really glad that we were able to hang in person after as much time as we've all spent online, getting to know each other, doing sick collabs. So really cool to have Mantel's first two collabs in between the two artists. So the Card Carver and the 52 Tops Mantle, and then the one we just debuted for the National with Collector Creative and Bench Mob. Zach Nygett, Tommy Fallos. Really appreciate you guys. It's a lot of fun.
Appreciate you, Evan, man.
Yeah,
and best of luck to everything that's going on with Mantel, man. I'm excited to see it grow.
No, I appreciate you guys.
brother.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
fellas.
you. All right.
I appreciate it.
Hobby Hustle is brought to you by Collector Creative. If you're a collectible brand or company looking for help with marketing, branding, design, or development, head over to collectorcreative.com and drop Zach a line. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at collector_creative. And be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Hobby Hustle, where collecting passion and business collide.